Imagine for a moment you overheard this conversation. Hey, Maria, you would not believe the speaker I just heard. Oh my gosh, she was a wow. Well, Joy, you really are excited about the speaker, but what in the world did she talk about? Oh my gosh, she had several points, but she had me just on the edge of my seat. I couldn't wait to hear the next thing she was going to say. Well, Joy, tell me one thing that you took away from this talk she gave. Oh, Maria, there were so many. But the most important was, she said it was really, really important when you talk with someone to listen with your eyes. Oh, wow, that is an important life lesson. Will you let me know when this gal's going to be in town again? I'd love to come hear her too. Wouldn't you just love it if they were talking about you? I didn't hear a word. Yeah. Okay. I'm so glad. That's why you're a Toastmaster. Have no fear. This will happen. Because today you are going to take away with you the 5 steps that are going to do 3 things. Number 1, keep your audiences on the edge of their seat, wanting you to come back for more. Second, the techniques I'm going to teach you are going to help make a connection with your audience. That's what you want, isn't it? Yeah. You see nods? Heads nodding. And the third, so that you can attract attention to your message, not distract because of the way you speak. 5 steps. And you are going to take these away with you, so you are going to be the most powerful and memorable speaker that you can imagine. Are you ready? Yep. Yes. All right. You have heard in Toastmasters, I'm sure, when you speak, you tell a story, make a point. Tell a story, make a point. Tell a story, and make a point. That story comes alive with your vocal variety. Now, besides the 5 points you are going to learn today, you are also going to have the opportunity to practice them and see how you can use those 5 steps on the spur of the moment. Don't worry, I have little pieces of paper you can choose to have something to read, to practice. Because that's what happens. You have to practice, practice, practice. You have to speak, speak, and speak. That's what makes you the speaker where people are going to want you to come back and listen to your message. Think for a moment when you were a child, a story that was read to you. Think of the person who read that story to you. Think of the inflection, or maybe how the voice went higher or lower or louder or softer. Think of that for a minute. Okay, now, what story came to mind? The 3 Bears. Okay. What else story came to mind?
I came with I Love You Forever because I couldn't remember my childhood, so I turned it around. I love you forever.
I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. Yep. Yes. Anyone else? You were read to as a child. You don't remember any stories that come to mind? You sure it wasn't the 3 pigs? The 3 rabbits.
He made up long stories about 3 rabbits that were
Little Red Riding Hood.
Little Red Riding Hood. It's been said that Most often, people will not remember what you have said or what you have done, but they will remember how you made them feel. So when you think about the person who read to you, let's go to the three pigs. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. Might have been an example of how someone used vocal variety in telling a story. Here's another question. What's the message? What is the message you learned from the three bears, Sheila? What was the message that stuck to you?
When you need to listen to what your parents tell you and not go to a stranger's house and look in their house.
Don't go to a stranger's house, because what most often might have happened with Sheila when she heard that story was fear. In not listening to her parents, fear. Afraid of being lost. Afraid of being left alone with strangers she didn't know. I'm just surmising that. But you remember that story because something clicked with you about perhaps some kind of abandonment issue. It's an emotional thing. I'm not going to get psychological here, but I'm just trying to go back to that statement that we've heard. People won't remember what you say or do, but they'll remember how you made them feel. The story made you feel something where you remember that. The same thing with you, Kathy, with I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. It's that connection. You felt connected to the child in the story. You felt connected to the mother who would never, ever leave her child. Connection. That's what you want to do in your speeches. Get the message across so they will remember your message because of how you made them feel with your story. We are now going to move into the 5 steps. You have a worksheet in front of you where you can take notes. Each of the 5 steps will have what I call a foundational phrase that you can write on your papers to remember how important it is to incorporate into your speech. Who might want to take a stab at thinking or knowing what the V might stand for? Close, but that's not the right answer. Volume. It's important to know the size of the room, how many people are in the room. They always tell you, know your audience. How many people might be wearing hearing aids? How often have you might have been in a room where the air conditioner kept coming on and off, and you had to adjust your volume? However, speaking loud all the time may take away from your speech, the effect of your speech. Speaking so softly, people may lose your message. They also tell you to emphasize perhaps the last word of the statement of the message you want to have the power pack. But how often have you also heard people swallow the last word and you never got it? I sure have. And then I'm asking, what did she say? What was that? What did he say? I want to write it down. I thought it was I couldn't hear it. Volume is really important. And the foundational phrase, let me write this down here, for volume is to vary. I tried to do all these words with the letter, okay? It is vary your vocal level. Vary your vocal level while you speak throughout your speech. Vary your vocal level. That's how volume can really help. Let's go back to my first story about Maria and Joy. How did I use volume to grab your attention? Can anyone remember?
You altered between the two people, but one had an elevated excitement while the other one was more calm and curious.
So Joy was loud with, wow, I heard the most incredible speaker. And Maria's, really? Well, what did she talk about? See how the volume varied. Volume varied. Did I engage you in that opening story?
Yes.
Volume varies. So vary your volume rate. Vary your volume level, rather, so that you can keep your audience on the edge of their seats while you're telling the story. Do you have any questions regarding the volume piece? It's one of those things you have to be aware of where you're speaking from. If you're in a huge auditorium or a cafeteria where it echoes, oh my goodness, that's always difficult. It's something you have to be, sometimes we go up to present and we're thinking about what we want to say and we forget to consider some of the other things that are important in giving our speech. Our next step, by the way, these aren't in any order, it's just that I wanted to use an acronym, verbs. Verbs are action words. And the reason for doing that is so you know how important it is to act with your vocal variety to get your audience on the edge of their speech, on the edge of their seats, and to make your speech memorable. So it's not in any specific order. It's just I had an acronym I could give you that would be memorable. Who might know what the E would stand for in verbs?
Excitement.
Energize. Excite.
Electric.
All of them actually, everything what you just said actually equals this one word. And it is expression. Expression. It is expression that shows emotion. Just like we talked about with the storybooks that you remember from being a young child. It was how it was expressed that gave you that emotion that you remembered, the feeling that you remember. Whether it's fear or love or anger, that needs to come through in your stories. My first story, you felt, what did you feel in the first story that I spoke about at the beginning of my speech? You said it. Excitement. Excitement. And then inquisitiveness. Expression. It is really hard sometimes for people to step into the character of the person they're telling the story about. They're thinking, oh, I'm not on stage, or what do you mean you're not on stage? You own the stage as a speaker, and you need to show it. Without expression, you're not going to have people attuned to your message. It will distract, not attract. Remember I told you that was what you're going to learn today, how to attract your audience to remember your message, not distract from it. Expression is necessary. And so many people speak perhaps in a monotone voice because they're afraid to step into the character. Oh, what might they think? It's not what they think. It's what they're going to learn. It's what they're going to feel. Does this make sense? So there's a foundational phrase for the E. Are you ready? Express your emotions to enhance your message. Express your emotions to enhance your message. Those are the E's. That's the foundational phrase for expression. Expression. Express. Questions on how to do more of that? Anyone? Quiet group this morning.
Can you do that teaching arithmetic?
Possibly. Yes, Kathy.
Well, just an observation I had a while ago. I was sick and had the flu, and I had to lay in bed all the time, and I was watching all kinds of TV shows. And I noticed that everybody goes over the top when they're on TV for the talk show host. Everything is animated. So what you're saying re-emphasizes that we have to own that stage. They're putting it on for the audience or the cameras, and we need to do the same thing. Don't be afraid to own the stage.
Yes. Many times a speaker will come up front to any size audience and worry about, oh, does my hair look okay? Is my fly up? Or how do I look? And where should I, put my papers or this or that? But it's not about you. It's about the audience. And that's how we have to get that mindset of how we want to teach the audience. How do we tell that story? How do we make it come alive? But remember, think back again to when you were a child, stories were read to you. Dr. Seuss stories were wonderful about that. You could change your voice and so forth. It's just a fun, there's a storybook my grandson, even though he's kind of outgrown the story, wants over and over and over again. And it has to do with bees, because I go, bzzz. The bee just landed on, and he just kind of gets into that. He'll count the bees. When he was like 2 years old, it was counting the bees in the book. Make it come alive. I'm going to give you a hint now for the R. You would not have believed that car. That car came so fast around that corner. It crashed right into that parked car. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe he was going that fast.
Rapid.
Give you another one.
Resounding.
Give you one more. The old fragile man.
Rate.
Yes. Rate.
Your
Still is? Wait a minute. How did I do that? Okay, rate. People don't even think about this sometimes, of how to speed up something in the story and then how to slow it down. The old man, fragile and old, but he gripped the handles of his wheelchair and slowly raised himself up to pay honor to his fallen friend. Rate. Compared to the fast car that ran around the corner and crashed into the car, parked car. That makes the story come alive too. Last Sunday, I went to the adult Bible study at the church I'm attending. I was blown away. There were 2 teenage girls giving a talk about Nelson Mandela in South Africa. They had a PowerPoint, way too many words, couldn't read a thing on it. They had activities. They played a game with 2 sides of the adults, Jeopardy, who's going to win the most points after they had done their presentation. However, One spoke so fast I couldn't catch up one word she was saying. I was so interested in their material, I missed half of it. She's a teenager. She's just talking really, really fast. I can't even believe how fast she might text. I couldn't get over it. And afterwards I thought, oh my gosh, if I could just mentor these kids, what a presentation they would have. Because we're talking about Nelson Mandela. His funeral's tomorrow. This man made such a difference. And they were honoring him with their information, but I lost. And I have pretty good hearing. Because I key in. I couldn't see the PowerPoint. All I can tell was that it was filled with something. You're going to laugh at this, but the words in their PowerPoint went off the screen because they had so much it wasn't framed right. I did, and they apologized. Well, let me tell you what that says. But the point is, we have to be able to monitor our rate so that the story again comes alive. You want to rivet. You want to rivet your audience to their seats. Just like the expression with emotions will help connect you to your audience because they feel those similar emotions. And just like the volume will attract, not distract from your speech, rate will do the same for all three. Characterization, go back to your story. Characterization can come alive with how you say it. Tell me what you thought, how I used rate in my first opening story.
We have one fast speaker and one slow speaker.
Yes, contrast. Absolutely. So you got the character that one person is highly excitable, the other one was a little bit more sedate, but still inquisitive and wanting to know more and wanting also to learn. The next time she's in town, let me know. I want to hear this person speak. And wow, that life message. So the foundational phrase is to, what I do with it, where's my foundational phrase for the R, is to, wait a minute, I think I turned my page before I said it, is to regulate your speed. Regulate your speed. Rate stands for regulate your speed. Make your story come alive. Are you ready to move on to the next one?
Yep.
Okay. Put your hand on your abdomen, please. Now take a deep breath. Let it out. That's where your air needs to come from when you speak. Can you guess what the B stands for?
Breathe.
Yes.
Belly.
Breathe. Breathe. Okay. Breathe. I keep doing this. If you were here for one of the other talks I have given in the past, one of the first things I said when you come up to the stage is to do a PSA, not a public service announcement, but a pause. That's when you take your deep breath. You smile, and then admire your audience before you open your mouth. That P, the pause, the breathing is so important. Without it, you are not going to be able to say a very long sentence. You will be speaking from your throat, a throaty voice, probably needing to clear your throat more often during your speech. And it eliminates your ability to do the volume. Oh my gosh, I'm already out of time. Okay. Volume. Okay. It also affects your pitch. Because if you don't take that deep breath, then you're going to be speaking either really high, which is irritating to some, they want to cover their ears, or you can't finish your statement. Write down this sentence at the bottom of your paper there, because we're going to practice it. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. You're going to laugh at this. At a pretty at a pretty perfect picnic with Pandora. Okay, ready? Everybody take a deep breath, and we're going to say it together. Breath. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers at a pretty perfect picnic with Pandora. Were you able to get it out? Good. That means you were able to take a deep enough breath from your abdomen. If you hadn't, you'd never get through it. Case in point. What is our foundational phrase for B? Breathing builds better vocal quality. Breathing builds better vocal quality. And that's what you want, because that's how you can project your voice. That's how you can get your words out and show your expression. That's how you can speed up or slow down. It's all about breathing. And when you can stand up there tall and straight, as soon as you take that first deep breath, people are going to know that you own the stage. Believe it or not, I think I'm going to go over here. Let's talk about the very last verb, the S.
Sound.
Smile.
Sounds.
Speed.
Syllable. Simple.
I'm modeling it for you.
Nod. Oh, shake.
Silence.
Yes! Silence can be part of your vocal variety tools. Silence. Silence. It can help punctuate. It could be perfect to eliminating your uhs and ums and so's. It makes the emphasis on your point. At the first story, how did I use silence? How did I make the point I wanted to make?
Transition from each character, so when you're going from one character to the other, you use just enough silence to transition.
But the message, what I want to talk about is the message. Where was the silence when the message was shared?
Between the words.
The most important thing I learned was
Silence between the story and the message.
listening with your eyes. Remember, I paused because that was the power pack statement I wanted you to remember, as well as she remembered and she was sharing with her friend. Always pause right before the big message. Silence. The foundational phrase is Solidify your message with silence. Solidify your message with silence. Or it could be your teaching point. It's remember, tell a story, make a point, tell a story, make a point. So that's what the whole thing would be, the point that you're trying to get across. The point. Solidify your message with silence. Verbs. It's an action word. Verbs are your tools, your steps for vocal variety. These will enhance your speech. My time is now up, but I do have an activity, and it would be up to the Toastmaster for today to continue with that before we end this educational session. I'm not sure if we're ready. Well, what I'm going to do is have everyone pick out just a small statement and practice these tools with what they have to read. They're just short, very short.
Are you up for it?
Let's practice. If you don't practice, you're never going to learn it. You have to put into practice what you've learned. Otherwise, it's out the window. Most people who listen to a speech or go to a conference, unless they use it with and practice it with a coworker or mentor, they will, the research says 98% of the time that it will never, what they learned will never ever be used.
Do it.
Let's do it. And I am going to encourage you to take action and use these verbs. All right, I have a little, you can turn, just pick one out. There are